Leon Prater is one of the worst people Dexter has faced yet. His obsession with serial killers was probably the least horrible thing about him. Today, we are breaking down why witnessing his downfall was so satisfying. Leon Prater was cursed from a young age. Unfortunately, his parents died when he was a small child.
Yeah, I heard something about that. You lost them in a car accident when you were a kid. That's tough.
What appeared to be a random accident caused by a drunk driver actually turned out to be the intentional act of a serial killer. The killer's name was Cooper Morris, and although he was in fact drunk the night he killed Leon's parents, that isn't why they died. He did it on purpose. Cooper would admit as much in a letter responding to Leon after he wrote to him looking for answers.
I wrote a letter to the man who killed my parents, Cooper Morris.
To his surprise, Cooper wrote him back and explained that he had absolutely no remorse after murdering Leon's parents.
The son of a wrote back. He had no remorse. He said he knew I was suffering.
That wasn't the first time Cooper had killed, and if he had it his way, it wouldn't be the last.
I've killed before.
If Leon had a shred of humanity inside of him before talking to his parents' killer, he certainly didn't come out on the other side with any. Leon felt helpless when he watched his parents die, and he swore to himself that he would never be in that position again. It's completely understandable that a child who went through something like that would be traumatized. Being orphaned at such a young age and having to watch it happen with your own eyes is obviously horrific, but what Leon did and what he became following that incident is completely inexcusable. He lost his mind after his parents died. He devolved into a manipulative megalomaniac with a huge chip on his shoulder. Leon's relationship with Cooper was the birth of his obsession with serial killers, and he never let it go.
I want to show you one of my dearest passions.
Plenty of people are into true crime, but Leon took it to a level that was nothing short of disturbing. He tracked down and collected serial killers as if they were memorabilia. Leon took pride in being able to control people who refused to live by anybody else's rules. There is no doubt that that amount of influence made him feel like the most powerful person in the world. And once Leon got a taste of power, he was only hungry for more. Straying far from his humble beginnings, Leon became one of the richest men in America. He could have used all of that wealth and power for good, but instead, he chose to use it to manipulate everyone around him and bend them to his will.
You're part of my world now.
He seemed to enjoy wielding his power over the people who depended on him.
Give me your gun.
Leon clearly got some sort of sick pleasure out of dangling the things people loved the most in front of their face, knowing he could take it all away at a moment's notice. He hated being powerless, and that would contribute to his demise in a way he couldn't imagine. The truth is that Leon really was powerless, and deep down, he probably knew it. Why else would he go to such extreme lengths to protect himself? If he didn't have Charlie, he would be incredibly vulnerable at all times. He used Charlie as a shield and constantly mistreated her.
If you can't handle this, go back to the city.
I'm just saying.
Leon humiliated her on a regular basis, speaking to her like she was lower than a dog. If he didn't hold the fate of Charlie's mother's health in the palm of his hand, there is no way that Leon would have been able to treat a woman as capable as Charlie the way that he did.
You need to trust me and let me do my job.
I'm sorry, what is that again, exactly?
To keep you safe.
Then do your job.
And this seemed to be a pattern of behavior for him. He did the exact same thing to control Vivian, the lead coordinator in charge of organizing his gala honoring the New York City Police Department. Her daughter was sick and required expensive specialists to recover. After she disappointed him by forgetting a ramp for the officers injured in the line of duty, Leon was visibly upset.
Party is not about celebrities or finance guys. Who are we doing this for?
NYPD officers who've been injured in the line of duty.
Though he pretended not to be to keep up appearances. He asked how her daughter was doing. He didn't actually care, of course. He just wanted to remind Vivian that if she didn't make him happy, her daughter's health may not improve. It was a very thinly veiled threat. Leon Prater truly was a monster. Using people's loved ones to get them to do whatever he wanted was only the tip of the iceberg. Leon was also dangerously paranoid. He promised the serial killers he met and his own team that his manor was a safe space, but in reality, there was no safe space once you entered Leon's Leon's world. He needed to know every little thing about anyone he interacted with because he trusted absolutely no one. He didn't know that Red was actually Dexter, but he knew where Red lived, where he worked, and expected to know every other thing about him. So when Red didn't return to his job or apartment, Leon had Dexter followed to find out what else he was hiding. That led him to Harrison, and while Leon left that interaction thinking that he had the upper hand, becoming a threat to Harrison was the dumbest thing he could have done. Unlike Charlie and Vivian, Dexter had absolutely no intention of allowing his family to become a pawn in Leon Prater's twisted little game. But Leon, blinded by his own power, believed that he could command everything around him. He needed to believe that in order to feel safe, to feel in control. And Leon's paranoia didn't start with Dexter. They didn't know it, but Leon had been keeping very close tabs on every serial killer and worker in his orbit, including Charlie. He had entire files on each one of them, from before they met up to the last few days of their lives. Leon knew Al's real last name, and he even had pictures of Charlie bribing the corrections officer that killed Mia. And given how he weaponized the well-being of people's loved ones to maintain control, you can bet that he would have absolutely used the information he had in those files against any one of them in a heartbeat if he thought it was necessary to maintain his hold over them. When you can't trust even those closest to you, the people who know your darkest secrets, you're bound to spiral out of control at some point, and in the end, Leon's paranoia would contribute to his downfall. But it was his insanely large ego that would really do him in. Leon tried to appear humble and gracious. He acted as a philanthropist and always directed attention away from himself. That was probably for his own protection, of course, but if anyone looked too closely, they would see behind his mask. They could find out about his relationship with the person who killed his parents. They could find out a lot of things that wouldn't look too great as a headline. But behind all of the feigned humility was an egomaniacal madman. He truly felt entitled to treat the people around him like his little puppets. Maybe it was the tragedy he faced as a child that gave him his ridiculous air of entitlement, or maybe all of the money and power he gained after that went to his head. Either way, Leon was so full of himself that he thought he had a right to play God. He basically paid the Gemini killer to take people out for no other reason than his own enjoyment. By paying Gareth double, Leon incentivized Gareth to kill more frequently. He also paid Gareth more to take pictures of the victims before they were murdered. Leon was a sick, disgusting creature. He had his tentacles in the lives of people across the country without them even realizing it. The audacity to think he could get away with such over-the-top criminal behavior without any consequences shows just how huge his ego really was. And after witnessing Leon's heinous actions for himself, Dexter wouldn't be swayed by money or anything else. Dexter was determined to take Leon out. Before you watch any further, I'm happy to finally announce that I'm releasing the first limited drop of my t-shirts. At the start, there are only 100 available, so make sure you buy them while you can at dtmerch.store. Enjoy the video. If Dexter did have any reservations about killing Leon, there were two final actions that would remove any hesitation. Leon had spent years doing horribly evil things to plenty of people, that's undeniable. But his final acts made his fate inevitable. Dexter had already lost nearly everyone he cared about as a result of his double life as a serial killer. First, his father Harry died by an apparent suicide. Then, his wife Rita died at the hands of Arthur Mitchell, the Trinity Killer, which also caused him to lose his stepchildren, Astor and Cody, who went to live with their grandparents. Finally, his sister Deb was lost because of Daniel Vogel, aka Oliver Saxon, also aka the brain surgeon. Time and time again, Dexter was left to deal with emotions he didn't even know he could feel. One by one, the people Dexter longed to protect were taken out. He wasn't about to let that happen again. Dexter was trying to dodge Batista from the beginning of the series, but Angel wasn't going to let Dexter live a happy life after what he had done. He knew in his heart that Dexter was the Bay Harbor Butcher, and if he was right, that meant that James Dokes, Maria LaGuerta, and Deb were all killed because of Dexter. Angel couldn't let this get away from him. He was tired of being plagued by the mystery and grief that shrouded their deaths. Angel was told multiple times to hang it up, return to Miami, and let his illegal investigation into Dexter go. But how could he turn his back on all of the lingering questions when he was on the brink of uncovering the truth? He wasn't going to let Dexter slip through the cracks again, but going home would have been Batista's best bet because once he met Leon Prater, his fate was sealed. Leon couldn't have any loose ends, so when Batista asked him how he knew Dexter, it was obvious that he would have to be done away with. Leon could have lied, but why would he? He was in the power position. He could have dismissed Batista, but then he'd have to have him tailed at all times to ensure that he wasn't linked back to who he thought was the serial killer terrorizing New York. By asking Leon about Dexter, Batista made it impossible for someone as protective and sociopathic as Leon to let him go. Leon had Batista bound to a table in his vault and, much like the ice truck killer, presented him to Dexter to eliminate, both as an invitation to start anew and prove his loyalty. What Leon didn't realize is that Dexter had a code, and even though he may have ended up being caught by Angel, it wasn't a guarantee, so Angel didn't meet the code. Beyond that, Dexter was actually fond of Batista. In the original series, Dexter confided in Batista that if he could choose someone to be like, he would want to be like him. Dexter genuinely cared for Batista, and he wasn't about to kill him for Prater's benefit, or even his own. But Batista had no interest in learning more about Dexter. He didn't want to team up. He wanted to take Dexter out and avenge the deaths of all the innocent people who died in Dexter's wake. But Prater wasn't about to watch Batista kill someone he already thought he owned. Leon shot Batista in the back several times, killing him not instantly, but effectively. That was his first mistake. Maybe Dexter could have let Leon live after that. If it meant saving himself and Harrison, Dexter might have looked the other way. But then Leon made his second and final mistake. He kidnapped Harrison with the intent of murdering him in front of Dexter. That was the last straw. Dexter returned to the manor to save Harrison, but also to take Leon out for even daring to threaten his son. Dexter made it very clear that Harrison was off limits in their little game, but Leon didn't listen. Without Charlie, Leon was more desperate than ever, and after killing Batista, he had a bloodlust that he couldn't ignore. Even with a gun to his son's head, Dexter wasn't ready to let Leon win. When Dexter found Leon there, prepared to kill Harrison, he was more motivated than ever before to give Leon what he deserved. This is where Leon's ego screwed him. Keep in mind, Leon was the one who told Charlie that they were dealing with apex predators, yet he still believed that he could kill Dexter and his son. It was a ludicrous conclusion, but only someone as full of himself as Leon would think that he'd come out on top in this scenario. Without Charlie, he was absolutely powerless. He just didn't know it. In every other circumstance, Charlie was there to neutralize the threats that came against Leon. After she learned about the file he had been keeping on her and understood that there was no safety for her or her mother if she kept working for Leon, she quit. That left Leon to fend for himself. He still had his ego and his need to be in control, and those qualities deluded him into believing that he could hurt Dexter. He was gravely mistaken. To watch Leon find glee in the murders of innocent people and witness him manipulate the people closest to him, to see him hurt and even kill anyone that he deemed a threat, to know he killed Batista and was attempting to do the same to Harrison, it was all too much. If there was one thing Dexter was going to do, it was save his son. And fortunately for Leon, he was actually right about one thing. Dexter was an apex predator, and Leon simply wasn't. So when he was poised to kill both Dexter and Harrison, it was very gratifying to see him taken out by a little needle. Harrison injected him with M99 at just the right moment, and the rest was history. Leon would find his rightful place on Dexter's table. Leon Prater was a sociopath through and through. He was willing to hurt the elderly. He was willing to kill women. He would kill his own friends, and he'd even stoop so low as to kill children. Anyone was fair game to Leon if it meant that he could live to see another day of feeling absolute control and power over anyone and everyone that crossed his path. But he wasn't as smart as he thought he was. He didn't know that Dexter was only masquerading as Red. He didn't know why Lowell disappeared. He didn't know how Mia ended up in jail. He didn't even know that Gareth had a twin. He was truly delusional. He felt untouchable, but untouchable he was not. When Leon met Dexter, his days were numbered pretty much. He just couldn't see it. He couldn't conceive of anyone being more powerful or calculating than he was. And that's why his ego was his fatal flaw. Someone as cocky and self-assured as Leon was bound to have a few blind spots, and Dexter was one of them. Dexter is the last person you want to underestimate. Still, Leon foolishly thought he'd be the person to outsmart the Bay Harbor Butcher. Everyone, and I mean everyone, who has tried to paint Dexter into a corner has ended up dead. Yet Leon Prater thought he was more capable than all of them. If he had a fragment of modesty in his bones, Leon would have seen that Charlie was the only person who kept him from being exposed or killed sooner. He would have realized that going up against Dexter was a fool's errand. He could have come up with a better plan than threatening the one thing that Dexter said he cared about. He may even have made it out alive, but as was to be expected, Leon had to showboat and present himself as all-powerful. In reality, he was nothing of the sort, and his end would be so righteous and well-deserved that no one would dream of mourning him. What was most satisfying about Leon's downfall was watching his hysteria as he begged Dexter to spare him. Like most of the people who found themselves on Dexter's kill table, Leon denied his culpability. He blamed anything and anyone else. He offered Dexter money and accolades that he would never gain on his own. Oh, how the mighty had fallen. He didn't understand Dexter at all. Leon thought that his money could get him out of anything, but Dexter knew better. It wasn't just the urge to kill that led Dexter to take Prater out. It was justice for Batista. It was to pay Leon back for trying to kill Harrison. It was to put an end to his sadistic puppeteering Leon had been practicing over countless people for countless years. So Leon's pleading, his attempts to manipulate Dexter in the 11th hour, were useless. If Dexter had taken Leon up on his offer to help Harrison get into and pay for the most prestigious college, both he and his son would have been wrapped up in Leon's game yet again. Much like Vivian and Charlie, and who knows who else, Dexter and Harrison would have been beholden to Leon. And Dexter wasn't about to let that happen. Leon told Dexter that he was a part of his world, but he didn't realize that he was in over his head. And in Dexter's opinion, it was time for Leon's madness to stop. Leon's downfall was so satisfying because to watch someone so evil, so manipulative, so arrogant, finally face something their wealth couldn't get them out of felt like true justice. He killed Batista, the most innocent and wholesome person in the entire Dexter universe. He killed innocence with impunity, hurting everyone he met just to maintain his perverse sense of power. Leon got everything that was coming to him, and the cherry on top was that he couldn't even rest in death. Dexter made sure that everyone would know that Leon Prater was a crazy person who idolized and fraternized with serial killers. Finally, his legacy would reflect the truth. Leon's fingerprints were on the gun that was used to kill Angel. His vault was wide open, his files exposed. Leon's squeaky clean image was destroyed, and finally everyone in the world would see him for who he truly was. Before he crossed Dexter, Leon Prater was larger than life. But as the saying goes, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. If you like this video, check out our video covering the craziest theories for Dexter Resurrection Season 2. Please remember to like and subscribe, and as always, thanks so much for watching.